Hello YouTubers, this is Dave, Dave's Island Instruments. So I've got a crazy handpan tuning challenge today. A customer brought this one to me. And I'm not entirely sure who made it. I'm not sure, I just don't know. So it looks pretty cool. I like the way it's made. It has a funky kind of sound though. I think it's an accabono scale. So you can tell it's not really tuned the way we would normally think of a handpan being tuned. So this is just an interesting project for me because typically people bring me handpans that are damaged and need to be retuned, or they just went out of tune over time and they need to be adjusted and brought back into tune. But this handpan is a little different because the notes are basically the fundamental pitches. The basic note, the basic sound of that note is tuned. So like da 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 da, da 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 da. Right, those pitches are tuned. This one sounds like da, right? So you can sing the notes, but normally handpan notes are tuned with three basic pitches. There's a fundamental pitch, there's an octave, and then there's a side harmonic, which is typically a fifth. So let's say we're on this note here. Actually, let's do this note. So that one sounds like da 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 da. That's your fundamental pitch right there. And in the length of the note, there should be an octave, which would be da 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 da. So we have the da 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 da, and then you should have a da 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 for the octave going through the length of the note. And then there should be a fifth going through the width of the note. But this note, for instance, it only has the fundamental pitch. So I don't think it's been damaged because everything sounds pretty much the way it seems like it was intentionally tuned this way. So I'm kind of like questioning myself, like, well, do I attack this instrument and just go for it and basically tune it to the proper harmonics that would be normally assumed with a handpan? If I do that, two things could happen. I can make it better, or along the way there might be some problems that occur that make the drum look worse, like there might be hammer marks that get made during the process of tuning it that make it look a little bit less than perfect. Also, when I'm tuning it, I've got this little port here that my hand goes through to put the hammer in there and hammer away at the drum. When the harmonics are this far off, you know, will I be able to hammer hard enough with my hand inside of the instrument to actually bring everything back to where it needs to be, or actually not bring it back, but put it where it needs to be to have a more of a typical handpan sound? So I guess the real questions I have in my brain are, like, did they intend for this drum to sound this way, which I'm assuming they did, because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't seem like it's been damaged or knocked out of tune or drifted out of tune. It seems like it was just sold this way. I make an instrument called the talk tone, and I'm intentionally not tuning the harmonics on that one just to create a very dry sound from the notes, but it also doesn't quite look like a handpan. So to me, it's a little bit more obvious that it was not intended or created to mimic a handpan. It's kind of its own little instrument. This one is a little bit different because it looks like a handpan, looks like it should sound like a handpan, but it doesn't have the features of the tuning that would usually make it sound proper, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tune one note, see how much difficulty there is tuning the one note. And if it goes along pretty smoothly, maybe I'll try working on some of the other notes. But this is a very interesting project, so let's see where it goes. As a lot of handpan builders say, they're chasing their rabbit down the rabbit hole. So definitely doing that on this project. Just in general, this is not a project I would typically want to engage in much on a frequent basis, because I'm basically tuning this instrument rather than adjusting it back to like a tuning service. This is like building it. It's almost like somebody sold a car that didn't have any tires on it, and somebody brought it to me and said, hey, it's not quite driving correctly. Well, nobody put any tires on it. It's supposed to have tires to help it run along more smoothly. So at this point, I would need to sell them some new tires. You know, I'm not just going to give them new tires. That sort of thing. You get the idea, right? It's more of a project than just standard tuning service. So it's just, but you know how I am. I like to engage myself in some tuning challenges. So we'll see where this one takes me. It'll be an interesting challenge. Here we go. So it's a C sharp. Oh, another fascinating thing about this is you don't really know what kind of material it's made out of until you start hammering on it. So I don't know if this is nitrided steel, stainless steel, some other kind of steel that I don't know about. So I'm going to start hammering on it a little bit. If it responds in a way that's easily tunable, then I'll probably keep going. But if all of a sudden I'm just pounding away and it's not doing anything, then I'll probably just try to bring it back to where it was. So this is not playing very well right now. Used to be a C sharp. The octave is not dropping the way I want it to. So just FYI, I'm really not getting any action on this note. The harmonics aren't coming in. Some little tricks that I've tried so far to lower the octave have only lowered it a marginal amount. I was trying to work on the fifth to bring up the fifth, and that's kind of not working very well. The steel is really stiff and hard, and it's difficult to move it. So I have a feeling that this project is not going to work. So I'm going to try putting this back to C sharp, just a fundamental pitch like it was, because it didn't have any harmonics on it that were seemingly tuned. Try to get it back to C sharp. Handpan challenge. Usually I succeed, but this time I'm gonna just let this one go, because this metal, it was kind of a foreign feeling metal. It didn't feel like just regular low carbon steel. Didn't move kind of the way I was expecting it. It might be nitride, it might not be, I don't know. I'm guessing it is. But I just don't know how it was built in the first place. It didn't fit into any of the subgroups of how other people tune that I've seen before. Because sometimes different makers have different ways of tuning, and once you get familiar with one maker's tuning style, you can kind of emulate that and work with it. But this was a very interesting instrument, so I think we're just going to leave it the way it is. I'm unfortunately going to have to tell the customer that this is the way it is, and they'll just have to enjoy it the way it is, I guess.